Hey guys, Jared here, Magnetic Men's Club. I have a question for you. Today's topic, we're going to talk about triggers. And I'm not talking about the TikTok with the girl screaming off the top of her mouth of everything's unfair. That is a trigger. I'm not talking about feminized guys out there screaming and sitting in the road trying to, advance whatever bullshit cause they have. Those are triggers, but I'm talking about as a whole, everybody gets triggered. Everybody has an emotional response at one point in their life, usually multiple points in their life, where something is not right. Something's off. We're in resistance to something, and so we have this emotional response, which is what we just call a trigger. I'll give you an example. How can you put 20 people in one room and one person happens to say something and one person out of that 20 gets triggered and the other 19 don't even notice it, don't even recognize it? How is that possible? It's not the population as a whole. Yes, everybody has a trigger. Everybody has an emotional response to a person, a place, or a situation. We've all had them. I've had them a lot of times in my life. But what is the trigger itself? And the title of this video is What Triggers You is There to Teach You. Jared, I don't understand. I don't get this. Stay with me, because this is going to help level you up, guy or girl, to kind of understand why is it that you meet a person for the first time and everybody else likes him or her, but there's something off. You don't like the way they talk. You don't like the way they move. Or you go into a situation, you go into, say, a party or a dinner event, and you just feel off. Something's not right, but everybody else seems to be fine. This is a trigger. There's something in you that's projecting out based off your perception of that situation. If it didn't trigger you, it didn't bother you. If that person you felt fine with, then there was no trigger. So you want to ask yourself, in your past, or maybe you're going through this now, maybe it's a boss that you're just in resistance to this boss. And maybe the boss is an asshole. I'm not saying that, but why is there a resistance? There's a trigger. There's a lesson that you need to learn. And until you learn that lesson, you're going to keep getting triggered by the exact same person, just a different face, same situation, or same thing. As we grow in life, there's always going to be lessons that we need to learn. And until we learn that lesson, we can't advance in our own consciousness in our life. It's going to keep repeating. All a trigger is basically a projection of a deficiency that you have in your own life that is mirroring back to you through this person or this situation. It's a perception you have, and it's bouncing back to you. I'll give you a very easy example, because a lot of people can understand this, is public speaking. If you ask most people, they do not want to get up in public. They have this fear, which is a trigger, or they have this anxiety that builds up to them, which is a trigger of public speaking. If you ask yourself, in this scenario, what is being reflected back to me? Why can't I go talk to this room full of strangers or this room full of my peers and give them this speech or this talk or this idea? Well, you have a fear of judgment and a lack of self-confidence. That's the lesson in public speaking. So how, in this instance, would you be able to get past this stage? Well, practicing public speaking, maybe practicing in the mirror first and talking and saying your speech, and then maybe a couple of your loved ones. It's getting into action. Getting into that routine of public speaking is the only way that you can get over your fear, your trigger, of public speaking. When you can get over that fear of public speaking, you get self-esteem, you get self-confidence, and that thought of judgment starts to go away. I'm going to give you a story about when I was in the military. I was 21, fully operational, and I just got to England probably 6 months prior to that. Met the team, kind of got used to the team, and all of a sudden, a new first lieutenant comes in. And if you've ever been in the military, you guys kind of know that the commissioned side and the enlisted side are sort of like oil and water at times. You know, we always have this banter we have back and forth, but you needed both. And the enlisted side always respected the rank. You don't necessarily have to respect the person, but you respect the rank. Well, this new first lieutenant, or LT, comes in, and he was young. He was a little bit older than me because he had college. So I'm going to say he was like 25 or 26. He wasn't operational. He was more on the intel side. But he was still within the unit, and there was still a command structure that you had to follow. And for some reason, I just did not like him. I didn't know what it was. For the most part, I like everybody. I get along with everyone. And I didn't understand what it was. Every time the fucker spoke, I wanted to punch him. I just was in resistance to this guy, and I didn't understand why. So maybe this lasted about a month or so, and our relationship started getting a little bit worse. And I decided to go to my first sergeant, and he was a guy that I respected. He was like 23 years in, about ready to retire, but I respected him. He loved his troops, he loved his people, and you could kind of freely talk to him in a respectful manner, that is. So I kind of told him what I was dealing with, and I just didn't understand what was going on. And he let me talk. He just let me vomit it out like a little bitch. I was 21 at the time. So he kind of just sit there, let me talk. And he was actually really good at listening, because he would do a technique basically to let you know he heard him, where he'd parrot back what you said. And it was a form of active listening. And so he said something to me, which is this title of this video, and I know he didn't coin this, but it's the first time I heard it. He says, you know, what triggers somebody is there to teach them. 21, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know, you're speaking Yoda and all this other stuff. But so he came back and says, just think about it for a while. Ask yourself, what is it about this person that you don't like in yourself? Because what you perceive in yourself, you see in somebody else. That's a deficiency you're going to have resistance to. And that was a mouthful, and I'm like, okay. A couple days went by, and I really started thinking about it. I started looking at him like, why don't I like this guy? What is it about him? I said, all right, well, first off, he's an officer. I didn't like most officers. Second, he's young. He's 25. The dude's not even operational. He's on the intel side. And for us, intel just meant they're fucking idiots to begin with. They're going to end up getting us killed one day. But what is it about him? And then as I started looking at this and I started coming up with all these negative things, I realized I was in resistance to him because of my ego. We were on two different sides of the military. I was enlisted. He was commissioned. Maybe a part of me was jealous of his commissioning because they made more money, and just by default, they had more status, had more rank. Yet I just went through 2 fucking years of a pipeline to get where I was. They go to school maybe 6 months and his thing. So maybe there was jealousy there. The other part is that I was in resistance to was the idea that he's in charge. And it's a hard pill to swallow for somebody like me, because I like to be in charge. In my companies, I'm in charge. Right, wrong, or indifference, that's the position I like to be in. Well, in the military, it doesn't work that way. Yes, you have responsibilities. Yes, you do have some rank. Yes, you may have some people under you, but he's in charge. And so I had to accept the fact that he was one of my bosses. And once I kind of put my ego down, once I kind of said, okay, this is the rank structure. I signed up for this. I agreed to this. I can't change it. My resistance to him in the situation went away. And I went up to him. I talked to him maybe a week later. I said, hey, can we get a drink? Because he knew there was something off. And we had a couple drinks. We talked about it. And I did apologize to him. I says, listen, I wasn't really respecting the rank. I wasn't really respecting you as a person. I have no idea what you went through to get here. And I just want to kind of bury the hatchet and let you know that from here on out, whatever you say, as long as it doesn't fucking kill me, will be good. And you can kind of feel the resistance go away. You can kind of feel like that tension goes down. And he kind of flipped it and said something I never really thought about. He says, I did go to, the Air Force Academy. I didn't realize he's an Air Force Academy guy. I played football. He was a big guy. He goes, but I'm kind of jealous of you guys because of my size, how big I am. I wanted to go enlisted and do what you do, but they wouldn't even let me. Anyhow, once we kind of got back to our baseline, I kind of realized, let's agree. We're not going to be friends, but I'm going to respect it. The lesson was learned. The resistance I had to him, the triggers I had to him. I didn't want to punch him every time he talked. I didn't want to freaking rig his parachute and fucking like, oops. My point is the resistance went away. And once the resistance went away, I knew the lesson was taught. I knew I got the lesson. And that's how you know when you're growing as a person. What that trigger is, once you understand the trigger, once you understand how you're perceiving yourself in that person, it'll go away. And a new lesson will come up. A new trigger in your life will come up because that's how we grow. The universe, God, this is how you grow. There's people come into your life for a reason. I'm a firm believer is there are no accidents on why people come into your life. It can be bad people, it can be good people, it can be people just for a season. They come into your life for a reason, and it's up to us individually to figure out what their meaning to us and what our meaning to them is. So triggers are very important to have, they're important to recognize, and more importantly, they're important to figure out what we're reflecting back to the world that's causing the trigger so that we can level ourselves up as men, as women watching this, so that we can grow to the next stage of our life. So with that, I want you to just do a little bit of lesson when this comes up. Whenever you feel threatened, whenever you feel frustrated, whenever there's something that comes up into your life that feels heavy in a situation, a person, a place, a thing, and it keeps repeating. Now, I'm not saying it could be the same person, but this pattern keeps repeating. I want you to recognize that most of the time we're projecting our fears, our beliefs, and our insecurities onto other people. Always ask the question, what am I projecting that I'm perceiving out of this situation? And then ask yourself the following question, what is the lesson here? And this does take some reflection. This does take some time to kind of understand and really think deep, what is the lesson? Because once you learn the lesson, the pattern stops. With that, my name is Jared Schoonmaker. This is Magnetic Men's Club. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions about this, leave a comment down below. Feel free to jump on a call with me. It's a free 1-hour discovery call. This is only good until the end of August. After that, I'm booked out. I'm doing no more discovery calls. If you found this video helpful, obviously please hit like, hit subscribe, and the bell icon when you know new videos are being made. With that, have a great day, guys.